It's funny, all week I've been saying that I'll wear neon when I'm hanging out with people, but maybe when I speak I don't want to wear neon. But as I've been sitting with my team, I have to wear neon up here. I have to be a neon rider. So as she said, I'm Beth Button, and it's great to have this opportunity to speak. I do enjoy speaking, so it's very rarely I get the chance where people are forced to listen to me. When writing this speech, I kept thinking about how many events had to happen for us to be all in this room tonight. There are two big things that brought us here: bicycles and multiple sclerosis. Perhaps you have MS yourself, or were motivated to try this. Perhaps you know someone with MS, a friend, family member, or someone else. Maybe you don't know anybody at all with MS. At some point, everyone in this room decided to get on a bicycle. Some of you, myself included, are thinking that you may have defied the laws of physics today as you were going so slow up Mount Gaspereau you're unsure of how your bike stayed upright. And perhaps you're the other part who are thinking, man, I am glad I did that extra 35-kilometer loop so I could get a real workout today. MS connection or not, serious biker or not, here we are. Many journeys brought us all here tonight. I'm going to share my journey to the MS bike tour and why it is important to me. I am many things to many people. I am a daughter, a sister, an aunt, a girlfriend, a teacher for students who are visually impaired, an avid cyclist, I'm team captain of the Neon Riders, and I'm also a person with MS. I grew up in rural New Brunswick. At the age of 18, I became slightly pretentious and wanted to leave the small town life. My father understood my desire to be out on my own, but said, you can go anywhere you'd like for university, but the furthest I'm willing to drive you is Ottawa. Well, I decided to go as far as the Button family car would drive, and I ended up in Ottawa. I did my BSc at the University of Ottawa, and during these years, I discovered my love for working with people with disabilities. I decided that teaching would be a great way to turn this love into a career, so I started my BEd. The year was going great. I met some really incredible people. I fell in love with the profession, and I started planning for my future. Where was I going to go? Was I going to go to Alberta, abroad? I was investigating every opportunity I could. One Wednesday in February of that year, I woke up with this weird eye thing. It was kind of like having a couple of drinks, but it was Wednesday morning, and that definitely was not the case. The next day, the weird eye thing turned into double vision. As a determined person who likes to have fun, I went to a concert that Friday night with one hand over one eye so I could see the band playing. I was working weekends, working with children with autism, and we had a team meeting on that Saturday. When the team meeting wrapped up, a coworker looked at me and said, I'd really like to take you to the clinic. Things got pretty serious pretty quickly. The doctor at the clinic only looked at me for a minute before leaving the room. He quickly returned to tell me that the neurology ward at the Ottawa General Hospital was expecting me. After a whirlwind few days in the hospital of denial, MRI, CT, a spinal tap, and a lot of tears, on February 15th of 2006, at the age of 24, a neurologist and his team of residents walked into my room and told me that the test confirmed I had MS. As a person who'd always been healthy, this was quite a shock. As a person who had spent a lot of her adult life working with people with disabilities, this seemed really unfair. The neurologist said that I'd have my own neurologist assigned to my case in the next few months. Few months seemed ridiculous to hear at this point in time. I asked, what do I do in the meantime? Go live, said the doctor. Go live? These words did not make sense to me. How can one live with lesions on their brain? It's funny when you get a diagnosis, you hear all these crazy reactions from people. So I'd have people say things like, oh, I have an aunt with MS. She lives in a long-term care facility. Oh. And then you'd also hear the flip side, and you hear people say, oh, I know someone with MS. They've never had a relapse after the first one and are fine. Knowing that you have a disease that could be disabling is and still a little bit of a mind game. I was scared. I did not know how the disease would affect me. I did not know what my future held. I stopped looking at leaving Ottawa and decided that maybe I should stay close to home where good medical care was. At this point in time, MS became my calendar. It was 1 day since diagnosis, 1 week since diagnosis, 1 month since diagnosis. It consumed every thought I had. I remember listening to a friend stress out about something silly. I wanted to scream, "You're stressed, I have lesions on my brain." It's odd to think back to those days, because a lot has changed since then. At a certain point, I kind of forgot about it. I started to live my life with MS and not hate my life since MS. I really started to live again. I started to get involved in the MS walk in Ottawa. We cheered, we sang, we walked a short distance, there was no hills. I felt supported and I had the opportunity to meet other people with MS. In 2007, I lost my father. It was a pretty big loss to my small family, and I decided that perhaps my big city living was over and it was time to head back to my roots. So in 2008, I moved back to New Brunswick to be closer to my mother. Not long after moving to Fredericton, I found myself looking at the MS Bike Tour website. Was this something I could do? I went to a huge bike sale that's put on every year by Savage's Bike Shop in Fredericton. I heard myself talking to the person saying, "I haven't been on a bicycle since middle school, but I think I can do a bike tour. Now the bike needs to be comfortable or I will definitely quit before the tour even happens." So I went home that day with a new goal and a baby blue cruiser bicycle. It was definitely not the fastest, but it did the trick. Not having much of a community in Fredericton yet, I opted to do the Ottawa MS Bike Tour my first year. If slow and steady wins the race with my baby blue cruiser bicycle, I definitely won the race. I was really overwhelmed by the event. It was well run and very positive. When I was diagnosed with MS, I really didn't think I really thought I'd be robbed of these opportunities. I had tears in my eyes when I crossed the finish line. Since then, I've been doing the Nova Scotia tour. I realized there's one in New Brunswick, but it's kind of fun to get away and be somewhere else. The first year, there was only 4 of us. This year, there are nearly 20 of us all wearing neon. I remember last year being really nervous about the event. Not only did I convince people to drive to Nova Scotia from Fredericton, but many people actually bought bikes and started biking for the event. What if they didn't like it? My concerns were lifted when we were packing up the cars to leave on Sunday, and everyone said they'd be back next year before we even left the grounds. My team we're not just beginning cyclists anymore, we're really avid members of the Fredericton cycling community. They're supporters of me, and they're participants of the MS Bike Tour. They wear spandex and neon, they cheer, they have fun, and they don't look at me and my MS with sadness. They raise me up and support me along the way. He's gonna hate me for even saying this stuff, but moving to New Brunswick has enabled me to meet the man of my dreams. I remember being 24 and single and diagnosed with MS and thinking, my God, that's it. I'm gonna be single forever. Who would ever want to partner with MS? On my first date with Josh, I threw the MS card out there. I mean, if he can't handle it, I just want to know. He didn't say much. A few weeks into dating, he calmly started asking questions about it. I answered, I told him my story. He was quiet, and he pondered, and with the utmost sincerity, he looked at me and said, well, if this is going to work, you can't shield me from this part of your life. It's been quite a journey. MS isn't always easy. Well, for the most part, thus far, I've been quite healthy. My life is not free from MS symptoms. Some are harder to deal with than others. I feel quite lucky to have someone who's traveling this journey with me. In fact, most of the neon riders I've met through him, they have been a pretty awesome community, and they're pretty awesome people all around. Biking has become a huge part of my life. In fact, in our living room, there are 5 bicycles. I've long since sold the baby blue cruiser bike for a bit faster of a bike. And I can't imagine my life without 2 wheels. And really, if I didn't have MS, I don't think I ever would have become a biker. This event has been incredible for myself and anyone living with MS. I think for the most part, I'm quite typical of what happens. It's a disease that affects most people in the career building time of their life. If you go to the MS website, it talks about the most common age for diagnosis is 15 to 40. I'm well within that range. As for now, I've been pretty lucky and been quite healthy. I live a if you don't use it, you lose it philosophy of life. So while I'm still able, I'm going to do everything I can. You only live once, right? So, whether you're doing this tour on your own, or whether you're part of a team of 50, whether you're the leading fundraiser, or if you raise the fundraiser, When recruiting people, I tell them how positive the event is. It isn't people feeling bad for those of us with MS, it's people with hope, cheering everybody else on. Josh helped me write our team information on our website for the fundraising thingy. I think it really describes the bike tour well. We ride in support of other friends and family members who have MS, the ones who ride and the ones who are not able to ride but will be on our minds as we pedal. We ride because we love to bike. We proudly wear our jerseys, laugh till it hurts, pedal our way up the steepest of hills, and cruise down the other side. We'll sweat. A lot. We'll pant and we'll lay down in the grass at the finish line. We'll dance. We'll swap stories with other team about flat tires and skinned knees. We'll curse MS and raise a glass to the courage of those who fight it. We ride because we believe that the MS Society is funding important research, providing incredible support, and taking care of people with MS. We ride together because someday we really hope to come up with another reason to get together and ride our bicycles. We ride for a cure. I know that I'm not the only biker in the room who has MS. It makes me happy to meet other people who are staying active and living their dreams. I hope you all give yourself a pat in the back. There are also many people out there who are on the sidelines because MS doesn't enable them to bike, and this help is just as important. I'm going to end on a bit of a cheesy note, because I'm kind of a cheesy person. My team of neon riders are pretty important to me, and they're kind of like the pit stops in my life, and as of today, you really know how important those pit stops are. I look forward to seeing them when they come. They nourish my mind, body, and soul when I'm with them, and when it's time to go, I leave feeling like I can climb even the highest mountain. I am truly thankful for them and everybody else who does the bike tour. You really and truly are making a difference.